Okay, so we're with Steve Davies, who's Public Affairs Director for NatureWorks. Steve, first question. You referenced the PLA from methane concept project now yesterday. Where are you with that?
Well, where we are is we invested almost $1 million this year in January to build a fermentation lab, partly with some state funding, partly with our own money, mostly with our own money. We hired fermentation resources. It's a commitment to a longer-term project. There aren't any easy answers. And I said today, quite literally, will it work? We don't know. We're betting and investing in something. It may well get to a point where we understand it and the economics don't play right now. But it's important we invest in things like this. And I gave the other example as photonol.
Yeah. Well, they are sort of going in the same direction. So are we seeing a trend here for want of a better word, lab-based rather than land-based solutions?
Well, I think it's important to distinguish. This would still be a land-based solution. It would be sort of a horizontal solution where we use sunlight to convert.
Not a crop.
Not a crop, but it would still take hectares of land. Yeah. It would take physical resources. Yes, what we see is a trend to address the question which I tried to get at in the session. How do we more effectively convert the real feedstock, greenhouse gas, directly into what we want? We look at methane. We really encourage other folks like Photonol look at CO2. We hope to see that proceed, and we'd love to see them attract some interest from this crowd. But that's what we think the future focus needs to be, is how to do it more directly, more resource effectively.
Your total production now is what are we at? What tonnage are you producing a year?
We don't give exact numbers, but we're on the order of magnitude of 100,000 tons a year.
Right. Okay. And that's mostly out of the States. And are you up and running in the Far East? I should know, and I don't.
No, to be clear, that's all US based.
All US.
And at this point, we tried to make this very clear earlier in the year at our own conference. We have paused on our own plans because we don't want to invest in last century's technology, be it Thailand or anywhere else. We've got enough going on with feedstocks and polymer process improvements that we want to pause and let those play out and then build the latest technology.
Okay, just sort of projecting forward a little bit. So we're at a kind of sophisticated trial stage now with the methane. Okay, assuming all goes well, you get the right partnerships in place, you could be looking at commercialization within, 5 years?
I think that's realistic. It's at least 5 years out. Right. I don't know. We don't want to mislead on that. This is what the Ellen MacArthur Foundation likes to call a moonshot. May work, may not work, but it's important that we as an industry invest in this kind of moonshot.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with transparency in taking moonshots. I agree. But assuming it does go, realistically, what proportion of your total output do you reckon it could account for?
I can't say at this point, because whether it goes or not depends on the economics, and we're not far enough along yet to understand the rates, yields, efficiencies. And let me be specific. If all this produces the same polymer at the same cost, does it make sense to proceed? Maybe not.
Well, I could see one attraction straight away, and I take your point about it. Yes, technically it is land-based, but I think somebody said yesterday, I can't remember, it might have been you, that you go where the biomass is. Now, methane can be pretty much wherever you want it to be, I guess. So there must be cost advantages there.
We entered into this certainly because we're interested in cost advantages, but we've got a lot of irons in the fire. We continue to look at what we talked about, second-generation cellulosic sugars. It's all options on the table, frankly. And we continue to look at taking how we can more efficiently convert any sugar, how we can make the polymer process more efficient to get lower-cost polymer to market. So there's a lot of things going on, a lot of things in play here.
You would not position PLA as a biodegradable. It straddles both. It straddles the field. Yeah. How much is recyclable in reality?
How much of our production?
Yeah. Well, PLA. Yeah, yours. Why not?
Probably if we look at the market segments we sell into, there's two where compostability is a core fit, and that's food serviceware, where, as I said today, we're a tool to divert food residuals, and then film applications, mulch film, or lawn and leaf bag. Those are 2 segments out of 6. The majority of our volume is in segments where compostability is irrelevant. We're a functional materials producer.
So what we would call rigid plastics.
Rigid plastics, injection molded, 3D printing. You look at the portfolio here. It's a whole slew of things, including non-wovens.
Actually, that my last question, and it's outside of my remit, but why is PLA so good for 3D printing?
A couple of things, and again, it's all about it being a functional material. It's not because it's bio-based. It's absolutely not because it's compostable. It's got high, what the scientists call, intermolecular adhesion. It sticks to itself well, so you build strong structures as you print. And its shrinkage characteristics are such that it doesn't shrink much when it cools, so you get a high-resolution print. That's what matters, and that's what I'm talking about when I say we're a functional materials producer. We've got a material here that has found an excellent functional fit. Nothing to do with being bio-based, absolutely nothing to do with biodegradability. So that's a core market for us, as is polystyrene replacement. We've talked about that today as well.
I have got one last question, actually. Sorry, it just occurred to me. But and I saw you in discussion with the gentleman from the EU Environmental Commission yesterday. Is this industry getting a clear enough direction from the EU?
I think we get mixed signals from policymakers in general, and not only EU, but in general. There's a desire to support bio-based, but then, and this is again a general statement, people become super aware of issues, questions, and they seem to sort of lose track. What is needed, I think, from any government is a clear strategic signal and support, and not mixed signals. Mixed signals is what makes the industry reluctant to invest. It's what makes, oftentimes, the industry here invent in Europe, but go commercialize other places like Asia.
Yeah, I think what prompted my question to you is that I think yesterday was the first time I heard this 9 billion people needing to be fed elephant in the room suddenly emerge, and I wondered why. Yeah. And it sounded to me like it was just establishing a priority position.
Yeah. No, yeah. Those 9 billion people need to be fed, need to be housed, clothed. We need resources, and we need better use of resources to do that. Okay. And that's a lot of the driver to why we want to uncouple from a fossil economy.
Yeah, and also, of course, it does. I mean, although we know that the land issue isn't really an issue, methane is a much more acceptable resource than, let's say, sugar. Yep. Steve, thanks very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.